This right here has been my go-to travel setup for the past year, and that's the UPERFECT O, a mobile travel monitor which has 4K, OLED, and HDR. It's overall a pretty incredible monitor. And if you've been around for a while, you might remember that about a year ago, I actually reviewed this monitor right here on my channel. Now though, I've actually traveled with it for a long time, used it a ton, and can give you a bit more information about it and maybe inspire you to pick one up for yourself. Now, one small disclaimer is that last year when I reviewed this monitor, UPERFECT actually sent it out to me for review and I was able to keep it. And of course, if you want to, you can check out the affiliate links down in the description below. But I do hope that you still take my information here as my honest opinion, which it totally is, and UPERFECT has absolutely no input on it whatsoever. However, there's actually really not that much bad to say about this monitor. I was really happy with it overall my travels and all the time that I've been working with it. It's a 15-inch monitor. It has a 4K resolution, which means that you can actually use it in high DPI mode and you still have a full HD image, but everything just looks so much clearer. It also has a really amazing P3 color support, which means that you can color grade on this monitor, you can use it for photo editing, you can use it for creative work, and of course also for everything in between. Like I, for example, was using it a ton for programming projects as a secondary monitor so that I can have the website that I'm currently working on actually open on that screen and then code on my main screen. This monitor has a built-in battery, which means that you don't have to bring an extra power brick or connect it anywhere. However, that also makes it rather heavy, but that's something that I'm going to talk about in just a moment. The monitor itself usually is just connected to the computer with one USB-C cord. However, in that case, it is run via battery. If you want the monitor to also be powered or get energy, then you have to connect a second USB-C cord, for example, with your computer to draw power from, but then of course your internal battery of your computer will be draining quicker as well, or you just plug it in with a power brick, which of course also comes with the UPERFECT O. This is actually the way that I most of the time used it, because to be honest, usually I just set it up on my desk wherever I am working, whether I have an office or it's a co-working space, something like that. Usually I just bring a multi-USB-C port power adapter and then I can power the computer as well as the monitor right from there. And that way I don't really have to worry about any of the batteries running empty. However, coming back to the batteries, that's actually one of the criticisms that I have for this monitor. I believe it could be that much lighter if the monitor would not have built-in batteries. And to be honest, I never had it happen that I, for myself, was using it in an environment where I actually needed the battery. I always had power from a power outlet, or I would have been able to bring an external battery, which is optional. However, this monitor does weigh quite a bit, and that is partially due to the inbuilt battery. Now, I would much rather have the monitor weigh as little as possible, not have the battery, and then have that option to either bring a power brick or bring a battery power adapter. Now, the battery is not the only problem for this monitor. Of course, there is also the part that, for example, in terms of like how you can stand up. This here is the standard way that is obviously also the way that most people would use this monitor. However, sometimes, every now and then, I would also like to use the monitor in like a flipped up way, like a document reader or something like that. However, as you can see, it kind of works, but then you really have it leaning backwards quite a bit. Now, there might be an option to origami the case in a different way so that it stands higher, but I haven't found it, and thus this has basically never been an option for me. The other thing is that the case itself actually is really nice. It's a protective cover for the front of the monitor as well as the back of the monitor. But of course, that again comes with the negative side, I would say, that it adds quite a bit of weight to the overall monitor. Now, if you remember, I also got a stand from UPERFECT for the monitor, and that was specifically to also support the sideways orientation. And that, of course, is nice. However, this, of course, adds another thing that you have to carry around on your travels, and I was not actually bringing this on mine, because it is such a big piece and of course also extra weight that I wasn't willing to bring on this type of travel that we are doing, which is basically full time with just 4 suitcases, and that's everything that we can bring. Of course, you then have the issue that you pay for every extra luggage or every extra kilo. So for me, this was an option when I was still having an apartment, and there it's a nice thing to have when you do have that type of a base, because you can just clamp it in here and then have it also higher up, which is obviously quite nice, because in this setup that you can see, the monitor difference here is that the monitor here is much, much lower. And that's also why I always used it as a secondary monitor. But if you're at home and you have a base like this, then of course that's a different topic. But overall, and despite all of these negative things, I was very, very happy having this on my travels. It's an incredible monitor. It has high DPI, so you can actually look at these things and the text is really, really sharp. It just looks amazing. It's basically the same quality as the inbuilt monitor. It might even outperform it in certain aspects, but it's just a little bit too heavy for my taste. Now, if you want to check this monitor out, of course, it's around $900 US. It is a super expensive monitor. However, UPERFECT also has a bunch of other alternatives in their store that you might be able to check out. I, for example, also reviewed the Xbox E4 18-inch Full HD monitor from UPERFECT, and that video you will find linked in the description down below. Maybe that's an option for you depending on what you're looking at. That monitor, for example, specifically has 120 Hz refresh rate, whereas this one only has a 60 Hz refresh rate. But to be honest, if I were you, I would at least also take into consideration the 4K versions that are much less expensive, like for example the UBegin J8, which would give you the option to have high DPI in a 15-inch monitor, not break the bank like with this one. However, also don't get as much image quality that you would get with the OLED panel that is in the UPERFECT O, which is their flagship monitor. Now, with all of that said, I hope this was an informative video for you, a review about the UPERFECT O after a year of traveling with it and being absolutely happy with it. It's the best monitor as an external monitor that I've ever used, and I would absolutely bring it on the next travel again if I wouldn't have another option up my sleeve, which I will cover in an upcoming video. Now, with all that said, I hope you have an amazing day. Extend your screen real estate with a perfect monitor like the UPERFECT O, and I hope to see you in one of my upcoming videos. Ciao, ciao!